Good morning, folks. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to RevInMo with Eric. My name is Eric. We're going to do some revolution in motion. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's just get right into it, huh? What you're going to need today, nothing really changes, right? We're going to need a stability ball, and we're going to need a pair of weights, right, around 2 or 3 pounds. If you don't have a pair of weights, you can use 2 water bottles, fill them up, whether they're, the Nalgene bottles or the plastic water bottles, those work as well. Yeah, let's get into it. So, first exercise we're going to perform is called Pelvic Tilt. So, you're going to be sitting on top of your stability ball to start. I'm going to show you from the side here. My feet are hip width distance apart, toes are pointed forward, knees are stacked above the ankles. From here, I'm going to draw my abs in and up to the front of my spine, which relaxes my tailbone down towards the floor. I'm lifting in my chest, shoulders are down and back, and I'm floating my head. So maintaining or being mindful of all of our essentials with this pelvic tilt. And so now what I'm going to do, right, imagining that my pelvis is a bowl, which it essentially is, I'm going to tilt forward and back, right, going from one edge of the bowl to the other edge of the bowl. Just like so. I also think about if you find those bones on the front of your hips, it's almost as if someone has strings and they're pulling them straight up to the ceiling and then releasing the strings, and then that drops your pelvis all the way back down, up and down, just like so. Notice with this move if you have any extra movements, if you will, right? So as you perform these pelvic tilts, or do you notice that you're rocking forward and back, right? Do you notice that your knees are moving? Do you notice that your chest is lifting and falling? See if you can quiet all those extra movements as you just focus on the pelvic floor. You might actually notice that being pretty difficult to start. It might be very difficult for a lot of you because we don't often think about mobilizing or training just our pelvic floor, right? Usually okay, doing a million crunches in the gym. And we're trying to get away from that. We're trying to get away from engaging and activating our hip flexors and working on those deep, deep core muscles. From there, I'll show you at the front again. So we just went forward and back. Now we're going to go side to side. So again, finding that position and then going side to side. And with this position, same thing. It's like I imagine like I've got strings on those bones and someone's just pulling up the string and raising my hip up to the ceiling. Or you can also think about going from one edge of the bowl to the other. Just like so. I don't know if you've ever watched Conan O'Brien. He does this thing. And he goes, he probably has great control of his pelvic floor. Just like so. So even watching me on the camera, I notice I got a little bit of extra movement in the shoulders. So again, I'll see if I can keep that quiet. You might really notice your knees wanting to try and work. So this kind of gives you that idea of, in order for me to engage this area of my body, what other muscles am I using that probably aren't useful, right? Maybe I'm activating my adductors. Maybe I'm activating my glutes. Maybe I'm doing something in my chest, right, in my thoracic spine. And is that serving me for this movement? So after we've gone side to side, we just went forward and back as well. Now we're going to do circles. So you're going to do one circle clockwise and one circle counterclockwise. So it looks like this. One full circle and then alternating. I always use this cue that, if this is your first time doing pelvic tilt, pelvic tilt with the circles, your circle might be more like a square. And that cue was actually validated the other day because I showed this to a patient for the first time, and they said, my circle feels like a square without me ever even mentioning it, which was the best thing ever. That made me so happy. I also noticed too that if we start incorporating these intricate movements, start focusing on the pelvic floor. Notice what happens in your hands. Notice what happens in your jaw, right? I see a lot of people moving their jaws around, a lot of people clenching or moving their fingers. See if you can just quiet those noises, right? Quiet those other movements while you just focus here. Another way of thinking about these circles is that, right at the seat of my pelvic floor, it's almost like I'm drawing a circle on top of that stability ball. Just a 2-inch circle, right? It doesn't have to be huge. Again, we're getting away from moving our trunk. So you're moving your pelvis away from your trunk. I want you to stay stacked right here from your shoulders to your hips. So hips stay stacked above the shoulders or vice versa. And then you just perform circles like so. And once more, you might notice one edge of that circle might feel more cut off, right? That's just an area that I would encourage that we focus on, right? In terms of getting more mobility, it might be that hip that's always bugging you. It might be the opposite hip. You never know, because that would tell you that this hip hurts, and so this hip is compensating, or vice versa. Okay, let's go ahead and get into frog rock. So frog rock, you're going to stand behind the ball, squat into the ball so your pubic bone is in contact, all 10 of your toes pointed forward, equal pressure from your big toes to your pinky toes. From here, I'm going to relax over the ball, chin and nose are in contact with the ball as well. And notice how my heels are staying off the ground. So from here, I'm going to press off my toes, cushion myself in my hands, press off my hands, cushion myself back into my feet. Right, again, heels stay off, equal pressure with all my toes, toes pointed forward, rocking forward and back. In this move, I'm continuing to press my pubic bone into the ball. I'm really noticing that stretch, that fascial remodeling in the groin, in the hips. And I really notice that line all the way down my legs and on my feet. It feels like a line of tension, right? Almost like a wrapping sensation around from my big toe. With the rocking forward and back motion, it should feel relatively effortless, right? So I'm not, I do personally like to sink back a little bit more in my feet, which helps me, again, press my pubic bone in the ball and relax my lower back and spine. When we come forward, my head isn't touching the ground by any means. I feel like I should be able to effortlessly press back into my feet. All right, you don't need to go too far forward. We would in some instances, but today we're going to focus more on the lower body and the pelvic floor. So today is definitely going off script. Go and do one more. And back. Awesome. Next move we're going to do is called Buddha. Oh, man. Open up those hips. For Buddha, you're going to sit on the floor. The ball's going to be at your feet. Go ahead and lay back onto the floor. Feet are going to be on the top front of the ball. Soles of your feet are together, which drops your knees out to the side, right? So kind of simulating that frog position again. My hips are open, my knees are up to the side, soles are facing each other. From here, I'll gently press my feet into the ball and hollow my abs, which raises my sacrum up off the ground, right? So about 2 inches. So I can comfortably place my hand between the floor and my sacrum. From here, we're going to perform that similar pelvic tilt movement that we just did. So what that looks like is I'm going to raise my tailbone up toward the ceiling and let it fall back down towards the ground. So all the movement's just coming in through the hips, through that pelvic floor. Again, as my sacrum stays suspended off the ground, knees are relaxed out to the sides. If we have tight hips, this might already be enough, right? This already might be tough for us. So again, raising the sacrum up to the ceiling. I definitely feel it on the inside of my hips, and then letting it fall back down towards the ground. One more. Good. And then from here, staying in this position, now we're going to go side to side. So this is more of like a gentle rocking side to side. Notice that connection as you hollow, right? The hollowing, the activation of your pelvic floor as you go side to side, right? Start mobilizing one hip at a time. I'm initiating this movement mostly by moving the ball side to side, and then everything else follows. Also fair to mention in this, while we're finishing up the movement, if you have any undue tension, so similar to that pelvic rock, if you have any excess movement, any tension in the upper body, the neck, the shoulders, the brow, the jaw, see if you can just let that go, right? That is not where we're putting our emphasis on the work, right? We're working the pelvic floor. So it's just an interesting, body check. What muscles are you using that aren't serving you for this moment? Next move we're going to perform is knee side to side. So feet are going to be on the top front of the ball, knees and feet together. Good frame of reference is that your knees are going to stay at a 90-degree angle for this movement. From here, I'm going to hollow my abs. I'm going to show you two versions. This is the first one. From here, what you're going to do is drop your knees down to one side, rolling to the outside of one foot, back up, and then roll out to the other side. With this move, the ball stays at the same place. My feet are relatively staying at the same place, and I'm just rotating. The opposite of that is if I go to the side, notice how my legs are reaching away from my body now. Maybe I might be able to see it like this. So again, keeping that 90-degree angle, I think that's a good frame of reference as you go side to side. Trying to keep that ball in the same place, and then you're just rotating your feet around the ball, rather. Version 2, starting at the same spot. Here, knees together, feet together. You're going to press the soles of your feet into the ball, which raises your sacrum above the ground, and then the same movement, right? So dropping your knees down to one side and back up. This requires much more balance and coordination. Definitely, I have my hands out to the side for stability as I go side to side. With this one too, it's easier for that ball to roll away from you. So again, see if you can keep that ball relatively in the same spot as you roll your feet, as you drop your knees to one side and roll your feet around the ball versus pushing the ball away. Good, and relax. Okay, next we're gonna do supine ball crunch. So ball's gonna be, or your feet are gonna be hugging the ball, right? So if I lay back, just like so, my feet are supporting the ball from the bottom, just gently. I'm not squeezing it, right? But just supporting it. From here, I'm right over my SI joints, right over my sacrum. And we're going to start going side to side. So maintaining this height here with the ball, I'm going to bring my knee, or roll over, bring my knee down to the floor, back up, and rolling to the other side. Again, ideally, it'd be nice to get that knee down, but depending on, the mobility, the function of your pelvic floor, your low back and spine, you might not be able to get that knee down all the way. That's totally fine, right? Just focus on a range of motion, yeah, that works for you. So again, I'm continuing to draw my abs into the front of my spine as I go from one side to the other. If you've never worked on the pelvic floor or your adductors, you're going to want to take breaks because you're really going to feel it in those legs. Rolling right over those SI joints. If you have a cushion, I recommend putting a soft cushion under there too. And relax. Okay, now we're going to do, that was supine ball side to side. Now we're going to do supine ball crunch. So we're here, same starting position, but what I'm going to do, again, following my abs, I'm going to bring the ball up and back down. So essentially I'm starting right on my sacrum over my SI joints, rolling up just a little bit and then back down. I'm getting to a point where I want to find that, again, that range of motion where I can control the movement. So I'm not going up as high as I can and dropping back down. I'm not getting into my low back nearly as much. I'm just going up, maybe just to that, L4, L5 vertebrae and then back down. And again, you're really going to notice, I feel this in the adductors. I haven't done this one in a while, which is why we're doing it today. Again, see if you can release any tension in the upper chest, shoulders, neck, jaw as you go up and down. Again, take breaks as you need to. One more. Yeah. That'll do it. That will do it, folks. Okay. Let's grab some coffee first. 1 second. Maybe I should start calling this RevInMo and Coffee with Eric. Why not? It's tasty stuff. Okay. Now we're gonna perform. We're gonna do side lunge. Okay. Different to the other lunge that we've been doing in the past, where we might do that one again today, but this one is called side lunge. So I'm standing facing the camera. I'm going to have the ball right next to one of my sides. One foot on the floor, toes pointed forward. The other foot is going to be on top of the ball. So I've got the sole of that foot directly on top of the ball. Again, toes are pointed forward. This alone, you might feel that fascia remodeling, that stretch, that maybe even a little cramp in the hip there. Easy way to modify that is to stand on something. Whether you have like a couple books that are really sturdy, like textbooks. Being in med school, I've got too many textbooks. But something that will elevate this so it's not as much of a stretch here. Other than that, what we're going to do is we're going to have about 60-70% of our weight on the leg that's on the ground, right? And then I'm going to perform 2-inch knee bends with this leg. As I perform knee bends, I'm thinking about reaching this leg away from my body, right? So most of my weight is here as I'm reaching that foot as far away as I can from my body. Again, you're definitely going to notice that stretch. You might notice a cramping on the outside of your hip. You might really feel that stretch on the inside of your leg. With that, the knee bends too, again, they don't have to go down super far, just 2 inches. Providing that stretch, you'll find that range of motion that works best for you. Notice where your knee tracks with this knee bend. Ideally, it should be tracking over that second and third toe. From here, what we're going to do is rotate the foot on the ball up towards the ceiling. So toes are now pointed up towards the ceiling and knee bends again. And you might get an adjustment. Some things to keep in mind here, again, are essentials. So I'm following, my tailbone is dropped down and back, lifting my chest, floating my head, right? So I'm maintaining that position. This just provides an extra little aspect. So now I'm mobilizing the bottom of my, more of my adductors, but also my hamstrings now. As I perform those knee bends, again, reaching that foot as far away from my body as I can, almost like reaching through the socket. Go ahead and step down. Let's switch feet. I'm thinking what I'm going to be doing with these series is, I always like to shake things up, right? First day, Mondays is always going to be foundations. Again, go ahead and perform the movement as you need to. First movement's going to be, or first Monday, the Monday of the week, the first session is going to be the foundations, right? That probably won't change. Wednesday, I'll probably add a little bit of flavor into that foundations class. And then Friday, we'll see what happens. Again, 60% of my weight, most of my weight is going to be on this leg that's on the ground. Other foot, sole of that foot's directly on top of the ball. Toes are pointed forward. I'm reaching that foot away from my body. And you might notice, because we're doing one side at a time, one side might feel much tighter than the other. Good. Toes point up towards the ceiling. So like today, right, we're not really doing the foundations class. We're doing more of a pelvic floor class. Something that still you are able to do, you know, that anybody's able to do and get some benefit out of. We're not going to go too crazy, but you're going to notice that benefit. You might walk differently. Who knows? Again, toes pointed up towards the ceiling. A couple more 2-inch knee bends. Good. And bring that foot down. Okay. Woo. Now we're going to perform. So skater. Let's see. Got to bring the camera down a little bit. So skater, sitting directly on top of the ball. Feet are 2 times hip width distance apart. I would even say feet and knees are going to be 2 times hip width distance apart. Toes are pointed forward. Again, being mindful of essentials. I'm hollowing, lifting in my chest. Shoulders are down and back, floating my head. Tailbone is relaxed down towards the ground. So I'll show you what that looks like from the side again. Because I think it is important, especially with this movement, right? We want to train in that proper positioning and posture, right? Which is just going to reinforce more positive habits, if you will, in terms of how we move our body in space and time, right? So if I were to perform this movement like this, going side to side, you're probably not getting as much of the work as you can. Anyway, should put a ticker on the corner of the video of how many soapboxes I have for that day. Anyway, from here, press off one leg. That leg relaxes on the ball as I catch myself in the other leg. Side by side. Again, as I mentioned, so my feet and knees are relatively staying the same distance apart from each other, right? My knee distance never changes, right? That 2 times or so hip width distance. And then I land on my toes. Toes are pointing forward, knees in line with the toes. So that cue is definitely dependent on our mobility and our hips, as well as our feet. We just got done doing a whole bunch of pelvic floor work, so this should probably feel amazing, if anything. You might be like, I've never been able to reach out as far as I can with my feet while still keeping my knee in line with my toes. This is crazy. How's this happening? That being said, if this is still tough for you, right? So the opposite of that would be if I'm landing here. This is a very common position sometimes if we have tight hips or dysfunctional feet, right? So what I would encourage you is to slow down. Notice where your feet are landing, right? See if you can get your toes pointing forward. See if you can get your knee in line with the toes. And what that might mean is decreasing that range of motion. So now, you know, my knees are a little bit closer together. They're not out 2 times hip width distance apart. They're closer together to each other. And I'm just focused on keeping those toes pointing forward, focusing on keeping, again, the knee in line with the toes. Because that's where the majority of the work is occurring. And you're going to notice that stretch in the inside of your hip. Okay. Couple more. Let's see. Do we want to do inchworm next? Probably. Okay, and relax. Next exercise is inchworm. So you're going to need a wall, and you're going to need a stability ball. Okay. One day I will have a better setup. I guarantee it. So for inchworm, the ball is going to be in between you and the wall. Go ahead and hug your hips close to the ball, like so. Lay yourself back onto the floor. And then using your feet, you're going to walk the ball up the wall until your heels are at the equator. So in this position here, my sacrum is resting comfortably on the ground. My knees are relatively straight, right? This is dependent on mobility through that low back, spine, pelvis, hamstrings. If you find that in this position that your sacrum isn't in contact with the floor, then I would recommend scooting back a little bit until you're able to rest your sacrum comfortably on the floor. From here, so you're really, again, going to notice that abdominal hollowing. So I'm allowing my abs to fall to the front of my spine, right? Creating like this pseudo hammock sensation. And then in that position, I'm going to draw my abs in and up. So this might be the first time that you really notice, oh, that's what you mean when you're talking about abdominal hollowing, right? I'm just using gravity to allow my abs to fall to the front of my spine, and then I engage in and up there. I'm not bracing out. From here, what I'm going to do is roll up at a time up to about my shoulders, and then back down. And with this movement, what I'm focusing on is, again, that hollowing, but I'm focusing on creating space through my spine. So as I come up, I'm articulating my spine away from the floor, one vertebrae at a time, creating space, and back down. I'm pressing my spine into the floor. Once more, creating space, allowing each vertebrae to fall one at a time. And that, again, is controlled by the abdominal hollowing. The ball is there just to guide your feet up and down. So ideally, you know, and if you are a revolution in motion freak athlete like Alex Kalinkos, you probably wouldn't need the ball, right? Your feet are suspended in the air, and you're raising your feet up to the ceiling. So that, you know, versus pressing your feet into the ball, which, you know, if I'm being honest, that takes years and years and years for something like that to achieve just that articulation, that control, that power with the abdominal hollowing. But that's kind of like the idea that we want to get towards, is just raising the soles of your feet up towards the ceiling, and then your ball guides that. Again, rolling up. Notice any tension in your neck, shoulders, jaw, brow. Let that go. And back down. One vertebrae at a time until your sacrum hits the floor. You can walk the ball down, roll over to one side, and bring yourself up. If you've been experiencing or have experienced in the past low back pain, chronic back pain, things like that, that move is foundational to improving how we engage our core, how we engage our back, right? A lot of times we're just are so tight in those erector spinae, those muscles that are, they're like steel rods, right? Down the sides of our spine. And we really neglect all the smaller muscles. that require those smaller, more intricate movements around our spine. So what that does is, again, reorganize that, gets us out of those big honking muscles, helps activate and stimulate the smaller muscles. What that might feel like is just that burning deep ache sensation, right? As you, again, articulate your spine down the floor. I thought I was doing it wrong the first time I did it, and then I kept doing it, and I don't have back pain. It's kind of great. 2 more moves. Next one's going to be lunge. So the lunge that we were familiar with. With lunge, you're going to have your stability ball behind you, facing one direction. One foot's going to be on the floor, toes pointed forward. Other foot, the top of that foot is going to be on the top front of the ball. Okay? Just like so. In terms of where the ball is behind you, I kind of frame of reference is at my knees. If I've got an arrow straight through both of my knees, how should I say this? If I'm standing straight up, right, my knees are together, I want to maintain that with the ball right behind me. So opposite of that is that knees forward and you've got a whole bunch of your foot on the ball versus starting it backwards. I don't know what I'm saying. Hopefully that helps. But through the movement, you'll notice if you need to move the ball farther forward or backwards. From here, anyway, you're going to press the top of that foot into the top front of the ball, reaching that foot behind you, reaching the leg behind you, bringing yourself into that lunge, press your shin and foot in the ball, which lunges you forward. And pressing your foot and shin in the ball, you got about 60% of your weight in that back leg and forward. We call this move lunge, but it's not really that much of a lunge. When I think of a lunge, I think of an up and down, right? I'm not starting the movement by bending that front leg. That front leg's just there. It's kind of like a pillar, right, of support as I have the work occurring on that front leg, or the back leg, rather. But just passively bend, reach the leg out back behind me, pressing again my shin and my foot into the ball, almost falling. I'm going to do one more. If you're falling a lot, like me this morning, gonna go and switch feet. I definitely recommend you finding that extra item for support, whether that's performing right next to a wall and holding onto the wall as you lunge back, or having a chair next to you and holding onto the chair, the back of the chair next to you. Something that, again, adds you that third pillar of support, if you will. So then you can reach that foot back a little bit farther, really feel that stretch, get that stretch in the frontal leg, in the hip, and forward. If you've been following along with me in these videos, right, either tuning in live or otherwise, I am interested in hearing how this has been changing, right? What differences, what changes have you noticed in your body when you're performing revolution in motion consistently? Whether that's only 3 days a week, right? Whether that's maybe only 1 day a week. For me, to be honest, I didn't have that consistent of a practice until March, really. And then I wanted to provide it for you guys. So now I'm doing 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes of RevInMo every single day, at least. And, I'm an athlete. I like to perform. I like to do sports. I play disc golf. I like to run. I like to jump. I like to ski. I like to snowboard. And, at least specific to disc golf, you get beat up during the normal season, right? During the summer, during the spring, early fall. And this has been so foundational to just reducing those aches and pains, right? I use this as that foundational tool for recovery and support. So then next season, I don't have to worry about all these aches and pains bothering me. Okay. Finish with lunge. Let's go ahead and finish with the last move, which is going to be horizontal wall squat. With horizontal wall squat, once more, you're going to need a wall and a stability ball, just like so. So for this move, you're going to be facing the wall, measuring out, arms with distance, fingertips and all, just like so. Ball's going to be right behind you, touching your calves, and then you're going to sit right on the wall behind you. From here, walk your feet up the wall. Feet are going to be hip and a half width distance apart. Toes pointed straight up. Shins are going to be parallel to the ground. Knees in line with the toes. If I gently press my feet up the wall, that accentuates the contact of my sacrum on the ball. So I want to maintain that. From here, interlace my hands behind my head, and I'm going to relax my upper body into my hands. Again, reducing any tension in the shoulders, neck, jaw, brow. All that is being supported with my hands interlaced behind my head. From here, I'm going to gently press my feet up the wall. That extends my legs and extends my upper body over the ball. Again, relaxing my upper body into my hands, and then pressing my feet into the wall again to bring me back. So with this move, the goal isn't necessarily to extend your legs out as far as you can. You want to maintain a strong contact with your feet on the wall. So you might get to a point where you feel like your feet are starting, or your toes are starting to fall away from the wall, and stop right before that point, right? Whether that's 2 inches, whether that's 6 inches. You want to feel strong and stable in the feet. Also strong and stable right in that sacrum, in the pelvic floor. You can focus on hollowing your abs as well. Again, as you relax your upper body and your hands, I can't emphasize that enough. Right? I'm completely relaxed. Right? My eyes are closed. This movement serves as, if anything, just an integration of what we've done today. From here, what I'm going to do, so come back to the wall, just so, or whatever you need to do, just so your shins remain parallel to the floor. We're going to get a little bit more into the pelvic floor with this plie position. So from here, again, squatting out, or extending your legs rather, and back. And then with that plie position, really feel that stretch sinking deeper into the pelvic floor, so long as you maintain the contact of your sacrum on the ball and out. I'm matching the curvature of my spine, of my upper spine, that of the ball as best as I can, and back. My breathing is slow and even. It's not erratic. I'm not holding my breath at any point. One more. From here, walk your feet close together, using your hands. Bring your chin to your chest. Support your head and neck as you slowly walk down and roll yourself up. Ta-da! And we're all done. Oh, man. So that is a RevInMo series with more emphasis on the pelvic floor, really organizing the hips, the low back, the spine, the sacrum, just everything. This guy feels so mobile right now. I'm actually going to work out right after this to kind of, again, integrate everything that I just did. That being said, if you like these RevInMo sessions, right? Again, these are completely free. Keep showing up. You're going to notice a difference. If you want to go a little bit deeper into the work, if you feel like maybe you're going through the series, but you don't know if you're doing the exercises right, I have options for you, right? We can do online virtual group classes. They're through Zoom. They're through MindBody Online. If you go to MindBody, you can type in Revolution in Motion, and they'll be right there. I teach classes about 3 days a week. Dr. Edith, the creator of RevInMo, she teaches a whole bunch more classes, and there's different levels for everybody. That gives you the opportunity to where we can work more face-to-face in a group setting, so I can give you cues right on the spot. So I know that you know that you're doing, and you know that I know that what you're doing is correct, right? Then you're going to get more benefit out of those exercises. In addition, if you want even more personal training, I provide virtual one-on-one sessions. So again, it doesn't matter. You could be in Singapore, you can be in Jamaica. Let's work together. Let's mobilize your body. I can give you a customized revolution in motion routine that is built around your needs. Okay, so those options are definitely available. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff, and I will see you guys next Monday. Bye.